What did you think about Spica and his performance?
I thought he did all right at times. Listen, if you look on that game 3 when they were actually getting times they were getting ahead, he actually did a bunch of the early game moves. I don't think he was. Here's the thing: in the context that they claim of we just decided Acadian wasn't good enough and Greg had his injuries and once we had to use this other guy, I can sort of see why they brought him in. To be fair, he wasn't terrible, and especially considering how few games he's played officially with TSM, I think he was okay. I don't think he's a top player. I wouldn't if I was TSM, I wouldn't sign him for next year. Put it that way.
I think he should definitely be in academy. I think he's shown a lot of potential. There's a lot of bright moments, but when you put a player that's not ready into LCS, it can damage their career and it can also damage expectations. Sure. So it was just a really weird move. And one thing is, I really hope TSM does not start him next year. Not because I don't think he's good enough. I think if they keep Bjerg, they need a strong-minded jungler. They need a jungler that can speak up. And a rookie, straight from academy, is not a jungler that can stand up to Bjergsen. And Spica seems like a nice, chill dude. And to be able to speak back to Bjergsen and to be able to have your own opinion as jungle and for there to be back and forth, you need someone that, you need someone with backbone. You need someone with experience.
It's weird that, because if it was a player I liked, you would just say oh, look, they're too toxic. Nobody can work with them. The jungler, you have to be respectful to your teammate and communicate with them. And then when you're then when a fucking TSM player comes to join the team of jungler, you're just like the fucking person who deals with the Queen of England. You will look at the ground. Only speak back when she first speaks to you. You will also always refer to him as Lord Bjergsen. He is the king of the midline, the Danish first of his name. Why are you so unreasonable like that? You're that little guy with the fucking staff, aren't you? What the fuck is that shit?
Oh, Duncan.
Double standards are outrageous, aren't they? Your double standards are outrageous.
I went back and watched some of your CSGO desk highlights. You're actually hilarious, and I've been appreciating you so much more. And I've been so ready for Listen Loco. Let's talk about the jungle situation. Okay, let's put this name out there. Dardoch. How do you feel? TSM Dardoch 2020.
So you say you need a player who's good, will handle pressure, can speak back to Bjergsen. He's the obvious one. And here's the thing, Loco. I keep bringing this up and no one ever listens to me. I actually can personally confirm Dardoch is an arsehole as a human being. I've had my own interactions with him where he was an arsehole. And I've even heard some shit, by the way. You know what? I'll just go ahead and throw this out there, homie. I heard shit from family members out there. So let's not get cocky on any of this stuff. Facts have been brought to the table. So all I'm going to say is this. In spite of that, though, the reason why I think a move like Dardoch to TSM is good is because both need each other. That's the best part of it, is that's where I could see both having growth. TSM could learn to actually allow someone to have a bit more agency from the role, while at the same time, obviously you don't want someone like Dardoch to go just completely crazy and do whatever they want. So I think you both need each other in that sense, actually. I think both of them need to fix a problem they've both had for a long time. And as weird as it might sound, they seem like the perfect people to fix each other's problem. Even if this doesn't end up being the team that they both would be in for years to come, if Dardoch can fix his reputation and show that he can do all the shit he can do, but in TSM, he has a career for life. And if TSM can just use Dardoch to fix the problem, even if Dardoch isn't the player you end up with, well, there's going to be a lot less people who are like him, isn't there? So, if you just made the way for a reasonable jungler, you can have a reasonable jungler after that. What do you think? So, isn't now the time to give it a go?
Before, I thought TSM was way too good, and TSM didn't need to take a risk on Dardoch. And I also thought the junglers TSM had were decent until they ruined them. So now I do think it's a good chance for TSM to take a shot on Dardoch. I actually agree with you. I think they'd be great fits for each other. They would fix their own problems, challenge each other in the correct way. And when you guys are both at rock bottom, there's something romantic about both rising up together.
I'd even throw in as well, you know what? This is actually a common thing I've noticed, is that players who are called toxic, listen, the players who hate them are the players who are going to get bullied by them, the bad players on a team who worry that they'll get criticized. I think someone like Bjergsen would actually love playing with someone like Dardoch once he got going. They would understand each other. And in fact, by the way, someone like Bjergsen, if he wanted to, could help someone like Dardoch be less of an arsehole, because he probably went through the same shit himself when he was the star player, I've no doubt.
Yeah, I'm sure they're both going to fucking group up and shit talk Loco and talk about how shitty of a coach I was.
That could happen. That could happen.
I'm good friends with both. Anyways, One thing I'm a little bit worried about is Josh trolled the hell out of Academy last split. He was playing Kiana jungle, he was playing Yasuo jungle. He didn't take Academy seriously. Honestly, like if TSM reached out to me and
right, I can see why that's a big deal, because nowadays actually academies where TSM gets their junglers for the playoffs, right? So that is a big deal for you. Yeah, I see what you mean there, Loco. Like we didn't know how important it was to be good in academy.
If TSM reached out to me and asked me for advice regarding if they should pick up Dardoch or not, I really wish Dardoch try harder than Academy and he smashed Academy, because then I'd be able to say something like, you guys should definitely pick up Dardoch. Like, he deserves a second shot. Like, he's been really grinding in Academy. Like, he hasn't given up. He really wants a shot back in LCS, and he really wants to prove himself. But him trolling in Academy last split leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I still think TSM and Dardoch would be a good fit, but it does worry me. Like, sure. Why'd you go and troll Academy? Like, if your career is the most important thing to you, and you're going through hardships and you're going to behave this way, you're going to go through hardships on TSM. Like, it's not going to be easy.
I'll give you my theory on that, though, because I have a problem with that. Like, by the way, I totally agree. This is one of the areas where, like, I even told people, like, forgiven this many times. Like, I told them, why the fuck would you ever sit a split out? I told them, even if it's for a bad team, go to a bad team, just show you can be a good teammate, perform as well as you can. As long as you perform slightly better than the team overall, you'll still be able to come back to a good team. And if anything, it actually only benefits you. Like, you establish your rep more. But the problem is, this is my theory for why Dardoch did it, is players like that who, in terms of their skill, should be at the top. They should be on like the best team. Like Dardoch should be already on a team like TSM, Cloud9, if we're talking only about skill and nothing to do with his personality. The problem is players like that hate to be on a bad team and have people know that they tried their hardest and still as a team failed. So the problem is, by trolling, you're showing the world like, look, I'm playing, but I'm not really into all this shit, man. Like, this is below my level. Which, like, they might think because they're young that that's the right move, because they think, like, right, well, at least no one can say, like, I was shit, because I can already say, like, you know, I was just fucking around. They don't realize that's way worse than being even bad. Like, if people hear you fuck around like that, yeah, they're going to think to themselves, like, oh, you're not committed to the team prospect. Like, you know, what if my team starts doing badly? You're not gonna try properly. You're not gonna put your effort in. So I actually do think it's a really big sign of immaturity, and like, it just doesn't make sense to do ever. Like, at that point in time, just don't play at all, mate. Either don't play or try properly. Like, there shouldn't be a middle ground, in my opinion. You should always have like the self-respect to give your best game.
And for a player like Dardoch, where there's so much questions around, like, are you going to be a team player? Are you going to be a good part of the team? Are you going to make sacrifices? If you can't do that in Academy, how can I trust you to do that in LCS? And I know the obvious answer, Academy doesn't matter. Of course, like, he doesn't care. But, like, if you can't show that, then, like, that's Josh's, like, kind of resume. Like, him trolling in Academy becomes a part of his resume. I'll give another example. A chat mentioned it. It's actually really great. Someday, on the other hand, he got unfairly pushed into Academy because Feligo wasn't good enough to be an LCS mid laner.
Residency issues, basically, yes.
So Ryu had to come back, and Ryu was an import, so Someday couldn't play. How does Someday handle getting benched and getting put in Academy? He carried the shit out of that team and made sure they won Summer from Academy. Like, it's just, I need that level of professionalism from Dardoch, and if he can show that, I think he'd be an amazing fit for TSM.
By the way, what sort of fucking alien world / computer simulation do we live in, where Kelsey Moser coached Someday, legendary KT Rolston top laner, to the Academy Championship in LCS? And if anyone goes, all right, was Someday really bad at that point in time? No, he was still one of the best top laners, actually. Like, what the fuck is this? What sort of simulation is this?
Let's talk Bjerg. Let's talk mid lane. What'd you think about Bjergsen's year, and what'd you think about Bjergsen in the last 3 weeks?
Listen, people don't realize this. Even my favorite players, if they underperform, I'll flame them. So I have to say, overall, Bjergsen wasn't the biggest problem at any point in time on TSM. He was still like a decent enough player. But I have to say, the playoffs and this gauntlet run, fucking hell, this was underwhelming. Like, I really thought he actually could, if he'd have played at the level you think of Bjergsen as, he could have been the hero in all these series. He could have won them all these series. He had a whole bunch of games that were just like average. Like, it's not like he was getting smashed by DeMonte. Let's not be silly. Like, you know, like, he was still probably the better mid laner in all these series, but they were mad underwhelming. Like, where was the superstar? Like, where's the guy who can take over the game?
Also, another thing is Bjergsen is a leader, and there has
Allegedly.
to be there has to be blame put on Bjergsen in terms of like TSM having a shitty culture and the team kind of falling apart, because you are the rock of the team. TSM is Bjergsen's team. Bjergsen is TSM and TSM is Bjerg. So yeah, a lot of, if I had to point, I think management is the one that fucked up the most regarding TSM's like shitty of the year, but Bjergsen, like, it's still Bjergsen. Like, the amount of talent you have, the amount of respect you have within the team, and the amount, like, how much players look up to you, you have so much control, and you have so much onus to carry and make sure the team makes it through. And the team was so close. They were one game off. You were up 2-0. So
a bunch of times, yeah.
I expect Peter to make dumb mistakes and, like, talk like that. I expect Parts to make some roster mistakes. I don't expect Bjergsen to be this. Just my expectation for Bjergsen and what was shown was so far off.
Here's the thing, Loco. One thing you have to give me credit for, right?
Yeah.
Is a lot of the players I like who people think I overrate, tell you what, they're fucking good at playing in bad teams. Mm-hmm. They are fucking good at, like, when they're in a bad team, they can still play their best game. Mm-hmm. I've actually been mad disappointed this season by Bjergsen in that respect. It's like, you know what? There's past years, I've even said it in your era, season 5, where I thought he had to carry too much. I thought he was way better than some of his teammates. And, like, you know, if anything, he was just keeping them in a job because they didn't deserve to be in the team. Never mind. Never mind the idea of winning LCS was ridiculous. Yeah. So back then, it was the other way around. He was fucking sick. This last year and a half, these last 2 lineups they've had that have failed, he himself hasn't been that great. It's like, you know, I get that in a good team you look better, but his level in, like, lesser teams, it's been a bit underwhelming. He's had a couple of good games that have been really standouts, famously the Zillion game last year. But, like, aside from that, it's not really the Bjergsen I expect. Like, I kind of feel like this has hit his rep more than the results. Forget the placing, like not winning LCS. Just individual level of play. Like, there's no universe where you can start having the discussion of, like, who would be the best middler at the moment? Is it Caps or is it fucking, like, he's not even in that conversation. Like, you don't even need to throw him in right now.
Mm-hmm. I would put Jensen as best mid NA before Bjerg. Of course. And I would even go Niski before Bjergsen for this season.
That's what I mean. Like, how much he's fallen down.
Yeah. But Bjerg is someone that's putting in the work. I don't think we're not talking about this is the end of Bjergsen, but we're talking about as this is definitely a dark spot on his career. When you look back and you look at the career of Bjergsen, like this era, 2019, 2018, that's a huge black spot on his career. Like,
well, I'll even say this. I think it ties into a discussion we've had in the past, which is, like, what he should actually have done in this team, in my opinion, is exactly the sort of thing you would basically flame some of my other favourites, Froggen, Forgiven for, which is trying to make the game about them too much. In this team, it should have been about him. Like, not entirely, like, it's not like the whole team set up just to make him but, like, he should always have had his champion, his priority. He should have had ganks. He should have resources. And listen, from beyond that, now we'll see who's performing well. If Broken Bill's playing well, he gets resources. If Sven's playing well or has his picks, he has a couple of picks, he gets resources. But in this team, the idea they still tried to play, like, global better thinking and Bjergsen's just unsolved. It's like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, no. In this team, you should have absolutely just said, like, right, it's like Hooney and the other teams. Like, just give me my shit, mate. Just give me my shit and I'll carry the game.
Also, Broken Blade made his name by solo killing Hooney in the Victor Aatrox matchup where Broken Blade was Aatrox. That was, like, the first series where I was like, damn, this Broken Blade kid came to play. Like, their hype behind him from Turkey is actually someone legitimate. I can't wait to see him grow. Holy shit, he disappeared. Like, what happened to Broken Blade? Like, in spring, if you asked me which player am I most excited for going into summer, who do you think will improve the most by the end of the year, I would have gave you 2 names, Niski and Broken Blade. Niski showed that improvement. Broken Blade disappeared. He regressed even. Like, what the fuck happened?
I agree. It's mad disappointing, mate. But then again, it's also the reason why, like, you always have to hold a little something back when people are rookies, you know? Like, you have to see them do it a couple of times, unfortunately, in League.
It's just... But it's nothing... It's nowhere near close of what he was showing. Like, maybe he stagnates a little bit. Maybe he has, like, pop-off games. Maybe it's on and off. But it's just, like, straight all the way fucking down. Like... I don't know what happened. Oh my god. He's the one player. outside of Bjergsen, he's the one player I'm the most disappointed in because he showed so much promise in spring and it didn't account to anything. It just all disappeared. It all fizzled. Where I thought TSM, maybe they didn't find another Bjergsen, but maybe they found another core piece they can build on in the years to come.
Here's the problem. I can already tell you right now, I've seen this fucking merry-go-round at TSM too often. Because they've already basically kicked the junglers, like they've obviously made it clear they're not going to use Acadian, and I doubt they're going to get Grig again after what's happened, right? The main problem is this. That's the excuse, right? Oh, but we just didn't have a good jungle situation. Listen, if you're a top lane, I'll absolutely agree with you. Top lane and mid, you need that fucking jungler to be really good. Like you can't just have some bomb there who's terrible. I agree, right? But the problem is, how many more splits does Broken Blade get? Like, I would go ahead and guess they're probably going to sign for next year. What do you think? I would say they would after this year. I personally wouldn't, but I think they will.
I don't know internally what's going on. Maybe there was a lot of drama. Maybe Broken Blade wasn't a part of it. Maybe Broken Blade became self-demotivated. Maybe Broken Blade enjoying North America too much. Maybe there's like a family tragedy and Broken Blade, it was really hard for him mentally. I don't have inside information, so it's really...
There was that time that Planet Moon Endor that he comes from got blown up. Trauma still. He just got that at the end there. He just got that at the end, didn't he? Like, it's all right. You know, that obviously that trauma still lives with him, you know. Sometimes he goes out and he looks up at the twin suns and it's, you know, whatever happened with that.
I just have no idea what happened. Maybe no one really knows. Once we have more internal information, we can really say. But
and by the way, just as an aside, like in case people wonder why we don't bring it up, aside from the odd occasional joke, we're not going to bring up any of the stuff with like, was a girl involved with TSM? Because it just has nothing to do with League of Legends. Like, that's just some stupid external shit. And personally, I don't think that should ever be brought up generally anywhere. Like, that's other people's lives that has nothing to do with the game. Like, if someone fucked up in the team because of that, well, then they were fucking a weak teammate or they had a bad mentality or the team wasn't run correctly. So that's the more important point to bring up, in my opinion, than whatever went on with some drama, you know. So that's why, if you notice, I've gone out of my way to leave that stuff out generally, you know.
Also, it is a little bit too TMZ. And for me, it's not even new. Every team has girl problems, and every young player has girl problems. This isn't like, oh my god, TSM had girl problems. If you knew what happened internally, like with all these teams, they always all have like some kind of girlfriend problem. It's nothing special. It's just like normal part of League of Legends and normal part of like young 20-year-olds having a lot of attention and having a lot of money. Anyway, back to Broken Blade, like next year, they need to find a clear upgrade. If not, like I guess I'd stay with them. But it's just internally, I need to know what happened before I can swing one way or the other. If there were a lot of external factors like that was fucking with Broken Blade, and he's like a young rookie that showed promise in spring, I can live with signing him for another year. But if there wasn't problems or Broken Blade was major part of the problems and he was self-demotivated, then I'd be very scared to have him for next year and I would actively look for upgrades.